Alright, you're back with comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. So I used to have these thoughts all the time. I wouldn't call them thoughts. I used to have arguments in my head with imaginary people. Nope, that sounds like schizophrenia. How the fuck do I say it? Like, you know how if someone fucks you over in traffic, you fantasize about murdering them? I used to have those thoughts all the time. Like, I used to have it intense. I think it was worse than most people. But I used to get into these, like, fucking real negative, like, thinking patterns, I'd call them. Fucking psycho scenarios in my head where I just play both characters. I play all characters in my head, and I just run through the scenarios. And none of them were pleasant. It was all, like, torture and fucking murder and fucking me beating the fuck out of someone for some slight. One that used to crop up all the time was I would imagine some pedophile has done something to my kid. And this is way before I had a fucking kid, by the way. This is like from when I was like 19. So 19-year-old me would drum up a scenario where some imaginary pedophile has done something to my imaginary kid, and I'm out for revenge. Then it would be like a scene out of Reservoir Dogs if Reservoir Dogs was a lot more fucking violent. That's how the scenario would go down. I would slice off his nuts. He would say something. He'd be screaming in agony. I'd get right up to his face and like, how does that feel, you fucking dog cunt? And then I'd get the bolt cutters out and I'd bolt cut off both his thumbs. So if he ever did recover from the balls getting cut off, he couldn't come after me with a gun and pull the trigger. Then I would bolt cut off his big toes so he didn't have balance, and then just kneecap him, just smash his fucking kneecaps, because I want him to stay alive and I want people to see him coming so he can't do that to anyone else's imaginary fucking kid. So I would just be torturing some poor fucking imaginary pedophile for like 45 minutes, just on public transport. I'd be reading the newspaper, and then I'd drift off into some fucking torture fantasy. And over the years, they got more psycho and more psycho. I'm like, this is not fucking healthy, because I would indulge the fuck out of them as well. It would be my whole focus. I would go into my head, and all the emotions would be welling up. I thought it had a little bit to do with drinking as well. Because I did notice it's the same type of character when you get that fucking dirty drunk. Like, fuck you, fucking, I was fucking shooting you, fucking show you what fucking video. You know, that gross cunt. So I did indulge these thoughts for years. It was like a hobby. Then I'm like, I can't spend any more time doing this. It's fucking taking hours out of my day to imaginary torture cunts. I can't be spending 3 hours fantasy torturing people every day. That's insane. If I'm going to do that, I might as well just find someone and once a month torture the fuck out of them. Just get it out of my system. I can't be wasting time like this anymore. It wasn't always torture either. Sometimes it would just be an argument that I completely fucking dominate and win and make all the good points, and then the person who I'm arguing with is like, oh my God, Boyle, you are so smart. I wish I had spoken to you earlier and I would have known the errors of my way. Because I'm playing both characters. Like my mate was saying, he always argues with feminists in his head. Like, why would you argue with them? Just smash them in the face, tie them to a chair, and start going at them with a brick hammer. Every chance I got, every spare second, I would drift off into a daydream. And I started paying attention to when I started fantasizing about shit like that. I'm like, all right, I'm about to torture this guy. Fuck it. Leave it. Then it only took like a couple of weeks. It would go from 45 minutes to like 20 minutes to 10 minutes to 5 minutes to 30 seconds, then down to a couple of seconds. Then after a couple of months, I just never had those thoughts again. I stopped having those thoughts. But somehow they've come back. Vigilante Boyle is back for some reason, and I have no idea why. Now that I'm talking it out, I think it could be another form of addiction, because it really is a physical thing I'm feeling when I'm having these arguments in my head. I think that's what it is. It's just another fucking addiction. Another distraction. Because I've quit everything else. That's why they're coming back. I fucking worked it out because I am slamming people's heads left, right, and center. Comics I hate. Comics I hate. I'm walking up to them while they're on stage and I'm beating them half to death with the mic stand. And they're looking up at me going, "Sorry, Boyle. I will try to be funnier next time." I'm like, yeah, well, there's a new sheriff in town. It's been especially bad the last week. Like this fucking bitch the other day. We're on a single car street, so you have to pull the side to let a car through because it's not a two-way. It's too skinny, and this fucking bitch in a Mercedes as well. Rich and a bitch. She sped up and sort of fucking blocked me out. Then she was like signaling me to reverse up to let her through. I'm like, bitch, you have no fucking idea who you're dealing with here. And I didn't budge. And then she reversed back and I pulled up right next to her and I wound down my window, not to say anything. I just wanted to get a clear look at her face so I could spend the next 45 minutes fucking torturing her. Oh, that was a good imaginary torture session. I still remember it. All right. All right. Whew. I guess that's the end of this psychotic episode. Does anyone else do that, or is it just me? Does anyone else have stabbing fantasies? Like if someone makes you a shit coffee, do you ever think about breaking into their house and stabbing them while they sleep? It doesn't even have to be that bad. Like, have you ever sat next to an Asian guy at a Malaysian restaurant and he eats so fucking loud with his mouth open that you fantasize following him back to work, walking into his office, locking the door behind you, and then bludgeoning him to death with the silver part from a vacuum cleaner? Does anyone else have that fantasy? All right, that's it tonight. We're done. Add me on social media if you're not too scared. I am Boyle Comedy on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, rate, review, subscribe to it. Tell your friends about it. That's the most important thing. And I'll see you the fuck later.